And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you again for joining today. So I hope everyone had a short, brief rest over the whole week, Holy Thursday and Holy Friday. This week we'll be talking about a lot of stuff, namely Xiaomi, the company, is doing a lot of things this past few months. They've been busy. Later on, we'll be talking about the work from home status from different companies. What's the situation? What's going to be, what it's going to be looking like in the future, and so forth. Next is if you're a Disney Plus subscribers, there's going to be a price hike in their subscription. Next, we'll be talking about Microsoft's acquisition of Discord. Next, we'll be talking about if you've been reading the news, the Suez Canal. There was a container ship that blocked the Suez Canal for several days. We'll talk about that also. Next, we'll be talking about Razer's new product, a face mask, a very high-tech face mask. So that's interesting. And finally, we'll talking about Apple's Bitcoin app scam that happened recently. So to start off, so let's talk of Xiaomi here now. Obviously, Xiaomi is a known for their smartphone, manufacturing. Now, obviously, with the void that happened to that's happened to Huawei in terms of not being able to produce or release, a new phone that's able to sell in other markets outside of China. Obviously, other companies will step in, and obviously, Xiaomi is one of them who's trying to fill that void in a sense. And what's interesting is, they're not just into making smartphones per se. And if you look at their stores, I think I've been to one of their stores and see they sell a lot of products, electronics products from TVs, televisions to home appliances and stuff. But anyway, for our first article here, we have the smartphone maker Xiaomi is going to make electric vehicles, which is surprising, similar to how Huawei is pivoting, and obviously other major companies, and not just manufacturing car manufacturers, as well as Apple, the company, is planning to go into this realm as well. Now, what they'll be doing here is partnering up with a company, the Great Wall Motor Company, limited factory, so they can manufacture electric vehicles in the China market here. Now, obviously, Xiaomi is known for their world's biggest smartphone makers, obviously behind Samsung and only to Apple here. Now, they will aim to create electric vehicles, as mentioned, at mass market in line with the broader positioning of electronic products. Obviously, they've been producing other items, not just smartphone items here. So let's take a closer look here. Yes, there you go. And as mentioned, so Xiaomi seeks to diversify its revenue streams from smartphone businesses, which accounts for the bulk of its income, but carries razor-thin profit margins. Now, obviously, as any companies, it's a sound strategy to not just focus on one particular product, but also spread your product portfolio so that you're not too reliant on one product, similar to how Samsung is doing in going to other businesses, not just in smartphones. Same for even Apple and other companies as well. Now, for them to be able to achieve producing their first electric vehicle, the Chinese company is partnering with Chinese search engine provider Baidu Inc. Is planned to make EVs using the auto plant owned by Geely, an automaker with aspirations to offer engineering consultancy, contracting, manufacturing here. You also have other companies like, as mentioned, Apple and Huawei Technologies has ambitions to go into the automotive as well as producing electric vehicles, as mentioned. Now, according to the Xiaomi's founder, Chief Executive Lei Jun, stated that the firm's expertise in hardware manufacturing will help accelerate the design and production of its EVs. Now, obviously, smartphone manufacturers like Apple, Samsung, or even Huawei, or in this case Xiaomi, has expertise in designing technologies like smartphone here. Now, how they translate that into a vehicle is a totally different matter, because it takes a lot of expertise to produce a sound vehicle here. So one of their key advantages, they're stating that in its operating system as well as furnishing, so it brings a lot of imagination for such cooperation regarding the future. So alongside its smartphone manufacturing, Xiaomi makes dozens of other internet connected devices. So you have televisions. I think one of the products I bought is earbuds. I think I tried it before. Then they have a scooter of sorts, and then they also have home appliances, cleaning products for personal use. They also have scooters, as mentioned, air purifiers, and rice cookers. So it's interconnected in a sense, so that it's more convenient for consumers to transition from your vehicle. Once you go to your home, you have devices interconnected from your smartphone to your television, even to your home appliances as well. I think that's what Apple is trying to do here as well. And according to Xiaomi, it plans to launch its first electric vehicle sometime in 2023. So that's not far in the future, and it will enable cars to connect with other devices in its product ecosystem. I think they're trying to copy how Apple is trying to create an ecosystem, not just in terms of technological devices for your at home, but also once you go out, it's seamless in transition from home to your vehicle, go to your workplace, and so forth. On related news now, if you're interested in Xiaomi smartphones, which is what they're known for, as mentioned, so they've recently announced that they're going to release the latest Xiaomi 11 series. So it's similar to how the Samsung branding or of their models, the S21 series. In this case, they're calling it the Mi 11. So they'll be releasing the Mi 11 Ultra, which is their uber premium smartphone, competing with the likes of the iPhone 12 Pro or Pro Max, and as well as the Samsung S21 Ultra here. So let's see here. So as mentioned, they're going to release the Ultras one. Then you have the 11i mid-tier, and the Mi 11 Lite, which is a more affordable smartphone here. So let's see here. There you go. So let's talk first about the Mi 11 Ultra. So it's their uber top-end model, as mentioned. So this will compete with the brands like Samsung as well as Samsung here. Now, obviously, this used to be the stronghold where Huawei was trying to compete in terms of feature pack smartphone, but at very affordable prices. Since Huawei has been not in the picture for quite some time, until the blacklist has been lifted. I think Xiaomi is in the right place to swoop in and take advantage of the situation and take the market share that Huawei has left here. Now, as you can see here, they're going to offer the Ultra, as mentioned. So one of its key features that it's unique from other smartphone device for other brands is the 1.1 inch rear OLED screen at the back here. So you can see here in the screen, so you can see the bump behind, right? So not only are you accustomed of seeing the, what do you call this, the lens for taking pictures, whether it's selfie and wide angles and so forth. So the purpose of the OLED screen, or the small screen that you see here, is to enable yourself see yourself when you're grabbing a photo here. Now, one thing that led me to thinking is, if you were to expand this feature, not just a small screen at the back, but expand it to the entire screen at the back, front and back, make it seamless. And if you think about the latest product, which we'll be talking about later, the folding for Xiaomi, then you also have the Galaxy Z Fold, which is foldable. You can imagine the phone is folded, so you can use the inner part as well as the external part on all sides, which would be interesting if we were to reach that point that the entirety of your smartphone is, encased with the screen, so you can use it in any facet, any face as you see fit. Anyway, as mentioned, so one of the features that they have is the ultra wide camera as well as the standard cameras, as mentioned. Now, they're also offering an IP68 rating, meaning it's ultra rugged, meaning it's dust resistant, water resistant. Now, not necessarily, you intentionally try to swim with it, but, in terms of rain and perspiration, so it can withstand that. Now, one of the bells and whistles that makes this uber premium device, it has a Snapdragon 888 SoC chip, and also a big screen, almost 7-inch screen, which has a 120 hertz QHD plus OLED screen. And it has the typical Gorilla Glass Victus and Dolby Vision Harmon Kardon tuned speakers, and has a 5,000 milliamp of battery. So it's comparable to the other brands here. Now, obviously, one of the unique features that Xiaomi has, not only the rear screen, is the charging capability. Now, they're touting that whether through wired or wireless charging, it boasts of 67-watt charging capability, which is pretty significant, meaning it tops up the battery in just 30 minutes, 36 minutes to be exact. And you can also charge your other devices with reverse wireless charging at 10-watt capability. Now, obviously, the feature that they're touting is the triple rear camera setup, which is, it can only go so much as to how high of a megapixel. Is that really important? I mean, all of the cameras I've been using in the past few years, they seem to do its job, unless you're really looking for a very high quality, like DSLR quality output. But by then, it makes sense to just purchase a DSLR camera. But for everyday usage, for day-to-day usage, I think 50 megapixels or even 100 megapixels seems kind of overkill, especially the zoom lens. I think, I don't know, 50 times or 100 times would make sense, since why would you try to capture a photo that's very far, and obviously the stabilization would be an issue. That's why one of the strengths of a digital camera is they have stabilization capability, so that when you're zooming in from afar, it can still capture the photo with crisp resolution. Anyway, so they have 48 megapixel ultra wide capability and 48 megapixel periscope lens, so it has all the bells and whistles. So it can do 5 times optical, 10 times hybrid, 120 times digital zoom, and 8K recording. I don't know who would be using 8K. I mean, for me, 1080p is more than enough for, if you're doing this for, whether for vlogging, for day-to-day use, or even just, capturing any video. Now, obviously, 8K presents better resolution, but again, is it cropping the screen? And again, stabilization is another issue here. Now, for the selfies, it's mentioned here that it has 20 megapixel camera. So, it has gone a long way from compared, when Nokia released the selfie capability of just, how many megapixel was it? I think 1.5 megapixel. So, it captures the picture clearly nowadays. So that's for the Mi 11 Ultra. Now, so the mid-tier, lower than the Ultra, here we have the Mi 11 Pro. I think we have a photo here. Let's see here. There you go. So obviously the Mi 11 Pro does not have all the bells and whistles of the Ultra, but it still have the chip as mentioned, the Snapdragon 888, and the screen size is the same. The IP68 rating and the 68 wired and wireless charging here. Now, obviously, don't have the screen like the 1.1 screen, rear screen in the Ultra here. So obviously, there's some differentiation, but not too much. If you're not, if that's not important to you, I think the Mi 11 Pro is more than enough. Now, if you're looking something more affordable, they also have the Mi 11i. So let's see here. There you go. So it's a basic run-of-the-mill smartphone that we've come to expect. So actually, it's a rebrand or a refresh of the same product, the Redmi K40 Pro. So it's the same one. So they just rebranded. So again, Still have the same screen, almost 7-inch. In this case, it's just full HD 120 hertz OLED screen. Still have the same Snapdragon chip, but the battery capacity is only 4,520 milliamps here, and it only has 33 watts of wired charging. So obviously it is expected because of it's a lower tier in terms of their product differentiation here, and it also does not have let me see here. They don't have the IP68 rating, as well as telephoto capability and periscope capability. So they've also released the Mi 11 Lite. So it has two types, the 4G and 5G capability here. So it's more for, for young adults who are interested in, something snappier, not snappier, but has the features, but it's more appealing for the young audience, as mentioned here. So it has lower battery capacity. It only has 4250 milliamp battery. It's only full HD, 90 hertz OLED, so I think it's more than capable. The screen is slightly smaller than compared to the previous one, and it only has 64 megapixel for its main camera here. So the pricing, as mentioned here, let's see what's the pricing. Yes, so as mentioned, for the Mi 11 Ultra, so you can get it at different variants from 8 gig to 8 gigs. RAM to 256 storage, which will cost you around 6,000 yuan, or roughly around a little over $900. So that's around 45,000 pesos. Then a higher end, 12 gigabytes of RAM for 256 of storage, cost you a little bit more, almost 6,500 yuan, almost $990. So almost 50,000. And then you have the higher tiered 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigs of storage for almost 7,000 yuan, a little over $1,000. So a little over 50,000 pesos in pesos here. So you have two choices here. So you have ceramic black as a color and ceramic white as another option here. Then you have the Mi 11 Pro, which is only available in China. So you have to order it if you're interested in the Pro. So it's only 5,000 yuan. So it's cheaper, less than $800 for the 8 gigabytes 128 gig storage. Then more expensive, higher storage of 256, it's around 5,300 yuan, a little over $800. So almost 40,000 pesos. And their high tiered is 12 gigabytes of RAM and 250 gigs of storage, almost 5,700 yuan. That's almost $900, or $50,000, $45,000 pesos. Anyway, Xiaomi also mentioned that they are going to release an 80-watt wireless charging. So you are allowed to charge in landscape or portrait orientation. I think that's one of the features or products that will be commonplace in the future if wireless charging has become commonplace. So it's easier. You don't have to rely on cables to charge your phone anymore. But the problem is it's very finicky. You have to place it in the proper positioning if you want to charge it. Otherwise, it will not charge properly here. Now, obviously, it's going to be not going to be cheap. The wireless charging pad comes with a 120-watt charger and retails for 500 yuan. That's almost $80. So around 4,000 bucks or pesos. And what's interesting here, it has a multi-coil wireless charging so that it enables you to place it anywhere in the pad. I think we have an illustration. It's not here. Or was the coil here? Yeah, it didn't show here. Anyway, so it has multi-coil, so you can place it in any orientation and it would still charge as intended here. And again, apart from the Mi 11 Ultra that they're releasing, and they're trying to follow the steps of Huawei here, trying to compete with Samsung, and obviously Samsung's main flagship smartphone is not the Ultra anymore, it's the Z Fold for Samsung, where it's a foldable phone. And Xiaomi has recently announced they're going to release the Mi Mix Fold, the first folding phone for Xiaomi here. So let's see here. There you go. So if you look at the picture here, it looks similar to the Galaxy Fold there. Anyway, So it touts an 8-inch screen, inner screen, or it has OLED panel screen, 2480 by 1860 resolution. So it's pretty bright. Peak has a 600 nits and peak at 900. So brighter is always better. I mean, for me anyway. And it supports Dolby Vision HDR here now. It's stated that it can withstand being folded 200 times. So will it last in the, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years that you're going to use it? Hopefully, but anyway, we'll see once they release the product. Anyway, in terms of the auto screen, it has almost 7-inch of footprint with 90 hertz refresh rate. I think it's a good feature, but in terms of price points, it's a bit too expensive for my taste anyway. But I think if they can sort of lower the price range, similar to how their, like, the S21 series Ultra, or in this case the Mi 11 Ultra is priced, I think it would make a compelling case for buying that one. Anyway, so they're planning to offer a Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 with its 12 to 16 gig RAM variant, and as well as 256 and 512 storage as well. So I think the battery capacity, maybe they could stand to increase it. It's only 5020 milliamps as mentioned, but they have fast charging of 67 watts here, which can charge in less approximately 30 minutes here. Now, one of the features that they'll be adopting is the liquid lens technology, which is somewhat, I won't say a new technology, but it's a very tricky technology. Obviously, using liquid in a technology in any devices, can destroy your smartphone here. But how effective they can do that, we have to wait and see. Now, the advantage of the liquid lens here, as mentioned, it allows for telephoto lens with a close focusing distance up to 3 centimeters and an optical zoom of 3 times or 30 times the hybrid zoom. So we'll see how they are able to adapt this, because obviously the advantage of having a multifaceted lens that can zoom in and get high quality shot, and zoom out and still not suffer in terms of what they call this resolution. That's why you see typically in many DSLR cameras, you see many photographers or vloggers use different types of lens for different types of occasion. If you want a wide angle, you tend to use a different type of lens. If you want to focus on a particular product, or if it's very far, you use a different lens. So you keep on changing. Now the telephoto lens, well, the point here is they're trying to find a middle ground so that it can do both at the same time really well. And Xiaomi is also announcing that they're going to produce the Mi Mix Alpha, which is kind of interesting. They're going to introduce the wraparound screen, which I mentioned earlier, which covered almost the entire phone here, which never made it to the market here. But in terms of concept, I think that's a very compelling case. If one's interested of looking something sci-fi, or way into the future of what a smartphone would look like in the future, or do we even still need a physical hand phone in the future? Anyway, they also said that the Mi Fold is planned to be released first in China, and there's going to be a pre-order. So it'll ship sometime later in mid-April. So it's very, very soon. And prices start at 10,000 yuan. So that's $1,500 US. So that's roughly around 70 to 75,000 pesos for the 12 gig variant and 256 storage. So if you want more RAM and storage, that's going to cost you 3,000 more of yuan, roughly almost $2,000. So, yeesh. So almost 100,000 pesos for the Mi Fold. That's way too much. Anyway, for our last Xiaomi story, so obviously company logo is very important. It represents how the company is perceived, and it's easily recognized, especially when you compare that to, let's say, the swoosh, the check symbol. It associates automatically with with Nike, and then the Apple logo, the Apple company brand, and so forth and so forth. So Xiaomi has introduced a new logo in a sense, but is it unrecognizable? We'll take a look here. Where is it? There you go. Yes. So obviously, they recently released or revealed a new logo, spending more than 20 minutes describing the process, which is kind of funny if you look at it closely. The logo looks somewhat the same, with only the outer shape looking different from a semicircle square shape to a more rounded square shape logo here, or call it squircle. Anyway, obviously, the company CEO, Lei Jun, stated that it didn't just change the shape from a square to a round, but also the internal spirit. So, meaning what it represents, why change the current logo as it is, as well as the mentality of the brand. So, more on changing the company culture in a sense. So, the new logo described using mathematical equations. It took the firm a very long time to pick the right one. It started as early as in 2017, meaning almost 4 years went into deciding how to come up with a better new logo, which is, obviously from outsider looking in, it looks somewhat the same and with minor differences only. So let's see here the process that they chose here. There you go. So they have several logos here. Now, can you spot which one they would have chosen, or is there any significant difference to the different logos that they shown here? Now, obviously they chose the N3, this one, as the best one to represent their new logo here. Anyway, now according to the CEO, as mentioned, they explained that the new logo is a part of a bigger overhaul of Xiaomi's brand identity. So, overseen by famed Japanese designer Kenya Hara. So, I mean, are they trying to, I won't say rebrand themselves, but make a name for themselves of how Huawei has reached that high level before, and are they trying to reach that level as well? Now, obviously, a logo is only a logo, but at the end of the day, it's the product that will determine the success or failure of any company, in this case for Xiaomi. Anyway, the design is essentially a reflection of the concept alive. Is it like a concept of alive? Anyway, hopefully it'll make a bigger impact than what they're hoping for. Anyway, next is we've been talking about working from home for some time regarding, obviously the current pandemic is still ongoing, but business has to continue, and question is, what will happen to the employees? Now, obviously, for the past year, employees are stuck at home, working from home for the longest time. Now, once restrictions have been lifted slowly, some locations are allowing employees to go back to their offices. But the question is, will employees go back? Now, there's an article here that, according to the Harvard Business School, which is kind of ironic, 81% of people who have been working from home through working from the pandemic don't want to go back. So let's see the article here. Yeah, so as mentioned here, 81% of people who have been working from home don't want to go back to work anymore, or would prefer a hybrid schedule of sorts. So they surveyed 1,500 remote workers, and the studies mentioned 27% hope to continue working remotely full-time, indefinitely actually. And then another 61% would prefer to mix working from home with going to the office 2 to 3 days a week. So meaning it's not going to be the same as before anymore now. Obviously, companies, to inculcate, company culture is important to see physically. Now, obviously, with technology, you have Skype, using Zoom here, can only do so much. You can see each other, but can you really talk to one another, over the internet? It's always different when you can talk to a person physically, where you can see them, body language, all the mannerism, all the that goes along if you're in proximity with your colleagues here. But obviously, this has given a glimpse as to, for employees, what is possible, that they're still able, we are still able to work effectively, or even more effectively, working at home or working remotely is the case here. Now, question is, what would the companies do here? Would they relinquish that option, or are they going to require all employees to go back to their offices and go back to the way it used to, if it's even possible to begin with. Anyway, according to Paul Mullaney, I think it's Mullaney, Harvard Business School online executive director, stated that preparing going back to business as usual. Obviously, professionals don't want business as usual anymore, and I think that's going to be there's going to be a new norm, as it's the case with even if there's going to be a vaccine, would people not wear any face mask in the future? I think people would still, as a precaution. And as stated here, they want flexibility from their employees to allow them to maintain the new work-home balance and productivity they have come to enjoy. And as long as they're able to do their jobs effectively, I think it makes a strong case for employees to, benefit from this new hybrid setup of sort. And as mentioned, going back to the office. Will people still be going back to the office? Obviously, at some point, but will it be the same? Will it be a 9 to 5 job in terms of Mondays to Fridays or even Saturdays if you're going? Maybe it would be lesser. So meaning more on productivity rather than quantity. Quality over quantity is the name of the game. And one of the statistics here, it's kind of compelling. 51% of respondents stated that they want to be fully vaccinated before even going back to offices. So, it's still a 50-50 endeavor here. And again, while 71% would prefer to wait until everyone is vaccinated before even going back to the office. Now, question is, even if everyone's vaccinated, would everyone be comfortable from what they're experienced, in working from home, this flexible type of, setup? So question is, how will companies adjust to this? Now, obviously, on a related topic, how are tech companies here, big tech companies at that, is adjusting to bringing their workers back here, meaning will they be going back to work within this year if vaccines are available once employees are vaccinated? Will it be a requirement if you're going to go back to office and whatnot here? Now, for tech companies here, like you have Uber and Facebook here, they announced timelines for a small percentage. So meaning it's not a total going back to office per se, but I think they're trying to wait and see what the backlash would happen if they were to push the agenda all of a sudden. But anyway, so meaning a small percent of workforce can return to their company premises here. So we have one here. Uber will remain open its Mission Bay offices in San Francisco at 20% capacity. Then you also have Facebook will open its select offices in the Bay Area up to 10% maximum seated capacity only. So it's still not a full-blown, resuming work as is before. And what's interesting here is we also have Microsoft was also planning to open its Redmond office in Washington headquarters on a limited basis. And what's interesting here, returning to the office should be voluntary. I think that makes sense rather than requiring it, because if you're able to do your job, regardless of whichever location, should be an option rather than a requirement here. Now, according to the Uber spokesperson, Louis van der Laan, wait here, let's change the article here. There you go. As mentioned, according to the spokesperson of Uber, stated that employees returning to the workplace need to take a virtual training, sign a COVID-19 precaution acknowledgement form, and take a daily health screening. So obviously, it's going to be a very, laborious process. You have to reintegrate again in the workplace, and every time you go back, you have to, be kept checked the whole time. So, it doesn't make sense to, invite everyone go back unless it's, you can be confidently saying that the way it used to be, before the pandemic, meaning you can go into the office, to and from the office and not worry about getting infected here. But, it makes a lot of, I won't say unnecessary precautions, but obviously it's going to be problematic in terms of the process. How can you work and you have to go to the process of obviously following the protocols and everything to ensure the safety? And wouldn't it be nice if you could just do it at home? At least less cost, right? Unless the company or the government can ensure the safety of all employees nationwide or worldwide, wherever they work, that they can feel safe and comfortable here. Now, obviously, the companies, or in this case, Uber, is stated that they're going to put in measures such as safety signage social distancing placards, as well as space between desks. So again, you have to reorient the entire office again. That's why I think the hybrid setup would be the more effective way of, moving forward here. And mandatory face coverings will be required in the initial phase here. Now, in terms of vaccines, so according to Uber, they're stating that they're not requiring to be vaccinated once offices have reopened. So for the case of Facebook here, employees have been given the option to work for home until July 2nd. So many of the companies here, whether it's Facebook, Amazon, or even Uber, have given leeways all the way until later this year. But how how fast can they transition from work from home to working back to the office is anybody's guess here. And as mentioned in Facebook, they're stating that employee who is not a full-time remote worker may continue working from home until 1 month after the office reopens at 50% capacity. Now, when's that going to happen? Is it later this year or maybe even next year? We have to wait and see. Now, the company is likely able to open its largest sites at 50% capacity, or as stated here, by later September here. Now, obviously, unless there's a sudden spike again, but if that's not the case, they're on trajectory to hopefully by later this year integrating most or at least half of their employee population there here. Now, as for Microsoft, on the other hand here, the Vice President, Kurt Delbane, stated that Microsoft work sites in 21 countries worldwide has been able to accommodate additional workers in their facilities. So meaning the company will be focusing on a hybrid workplace model, which I think it's a great idea here that a lot of companies should look at and really consider that as a viable option here. And he also stated that as we watch for progress against the virus in the region, in different regions, the company and continue to evaluate the guidance employees who work at Redmond work sites or nearby campuses have the choice to return to the facilities or continue to working remotely, which is options is always better than forcing employees to do one thing over the other. And also gives you the flexibility to do a mixture of both, so you can wait and see how comfortable employees, and obviously lessen the risk is another thing here. Now, finally, in terms of Google's plan, so it was stated that we talked about it last week that Google is investing a lot in their real estate, wherein they expect people to go back to their offices, and obviously not just focus in their headquarters but also in other regions. I think that will be the trend in the future, expanding several office sites in different regions, so you can still work together but necessarily don't have to be in one main headquarters like what they're experiencing right now, so that you can still work together as a group but not in one facility in this case. So you could be much closer in your provinces or in your cities here. So according to Google's plan here, as mentioned, they're stating that their return to office is still uncertain. So it would allow employees to work from home until later this year in September, and then they will reevaluate. On the other hand, you have Apple CEO Tim Cook is stating that December is the target date, that it seems likely the majority of teams won't be back in the office before June. So meaning, they're looking at how it progresses in terms of the vaccinations and how employees or the people take it, or if there's any effect. And for the other companies like Bloomberg, Twitter, and Spotify, they're allowing their employees to work from home permanently if they wish. So again, option is always a good way to, not say ingratiate with your employees, but again, at the end of the day, as long as they can do their job properly, effectively, and it should be consideration. And on a related note now, since we've been talking about working from home, now if long-term solution is working from home, what would business look like now? According to Tech Times, they're stating that the future of working remotely for businesses, of using smart glasses, sort of AR experience or augmented reality experience or virtual reality experiences, similar to what we're used to watching in films. I think we're getting closer to that point. I think a film that I watched, I think it was Ready Player One. Now, obviously, it's more of a game experience, but you can just imagine wearing a virtual headset you're at home, but you're actually meeting with your other colleagues in a virtual office somewhere else, would be the new norm. So it's not just seeing each other in camera, in Zoom meetings, and so forth, but you'll be transported to a different location where everyone can see each other and collaborate, whether it's augmented reality or virtual reality here. Now, obviously, for training purposes, collaboration, as well as improve customer service purposes here. And there was a recent uh, report according to the PricewaterhouseCoopers where they stated that both AR and virtual industries are expanding on an exponential scale. Obviously, this has been jump started, not necessarily jump started, but has accelerated the process with the pandemic that happened last year here. So let's see there. Yes. So as mentioned here, so with headset-based virtual reality accelerated ahead of its non-headset counterpart in terms of adoption. And sorry, the adoption already has surpassed to 95 million users in the US by 2022. So meaning a lot of people are going to continue to use this technology, and even businesses should look at it as a viable option here. Now, adoption of augmented and virtual reality technology is likely to accelerate further with the development of smart glasses. Now, Google has tried to sell the smart, AR smart glasses, but to less appeal, so to speak. But other companies like Facebook, Apple, Google, as mentioned, are key industry players gearing up for releases over the coming months. So, unless they can come up with a unique feature or that makes it not like make you look silly or stupid in this case, people are less likely to adopt it. So it has to, look seamless, right? Anyway, and as mentioned, remote work vacancies are increasing significantly across the world, regardless of regions here. So question here is, it will undoubtedly lead to a greater emphasis of the development of collaborative tools to improve the functionality of businesses and quality of communications between colleagues. So obviously, you cannot just stagnate and be complacent of doing Zoom meetings all time, every time. Now, when you do collaborative work, you'd like to be meeting face to face, but the problem is, we're not yet to that point that everyone's comfortable going back to their offices here. So what's the in between here? Obviously, using technology, like in this case, VR or AR, is another way of accomplishing that. Now, how effective that is, it's a case-to-case basis here. And obviously, this would be reimagining how a home office would look like. Obviously, setting up an AR, VR network is not easy. It's going to be costly. So price point is an issue there. And obviously, the advantage of, as mentioned, is the training per se. That obviously how can you conduct training if you're not face-to-face with your trainer and trainee? And obviously, the technology here would alleviate many of those concerns. And obviously, even if we're able to adopt, the AR, VR technology here in the future, the question here is, what's the policies regarding here? Obviously, how do you differentiate from working at home to working, within a timely manner? Is it 9 to 5 job, or obviously the complexities of mixing your work and home status here is kind of iffy here. So obviously, companies has to be careful on how to approach this situation. And obviously, with new technology comes with new challenges for businesses. So work culture will be needed to adapt to. So obviously, a culture with people are within proximity to one another is one thing. You have different problems, in fighting amongst different members if you don't agree. How about if you're far from one another and you have to work together in a virtual environment? Obviously, it creates a different scenario altogether here. So companies has to look at this carefully and strategically, and take into consideration the emotional toll that this will bring to any individual or any person at that. And obviously, guidance will be needed for employees for making the shift from a physical work environment to a digital one, which I totally agree with the article. And, even moving forward, even if everyone's vaccinated, it's a COVID-free scenario, people would still, have seen what work from home scenario is, the flexibility of working from home, in the office, gives you more time to enjoy life. Not just working all the time or studying all the time, but be able to do different things outside of what we're used to here. Anyway, continuing the third story here. So Disney company has been offering online streaming services, the Disney Plus, to offer customers, if you want to watch their catalog of a plethora of movies from the Marvel franchises, the Star Wars franchise, and all their Disney films in their catalog. Guess what? Obviously, Disney Plus is now going to increase their subscription fee, which is kind of ironic. They're trying to capture the market, but they haven't technically captured the market compared to other streaming services. Obviously, we're talking of Netflix here. But anyway, so what they're planning to do here, they're going to increase the price hike here from $7 to $8 per month. Now, obviously, it may not seem much, $1 here, there. So it will jump to an annual subscription fee of $70 to $80 per year here. And the bundle of Disney plus the Disney Plus bundle, meaning the ESPN and Hulu, will increase from $13 to $14 a month here. Let's see here now. Increasing price, I'm not too encouraged here, since obviously, what's the advantage of increasing the price? Why increase it? You're trying to get more eyeballs in your platform here. Anyway, so the Disney Plus services also saw increase in subscription fees in their other company, which is Hulu, with live TV increase from $71 to $71 from $61 last December. Then you have also ESPN Plus. It rose from $50 to $60. Now, question is, does it make a compelling case to subscribe in their different platforms here if you want to watch, especially films or even television TV series, right? Even though they have the franchise mentioned, the Marvel, Star Wars, even Nat Geo, and they're now boasting 100 million subscribers. But the question is, how many are watching using your platform on a monthly basis, right? And how many are subscribing and unsubscribing is another matter here, which is somewhat iffy, if I can say that. Anyway, obviously, one of their key features here is they're offering premium access in terms of allowing users to pay to see major films from home the same day the release in theaters. And again, so I have to pay the subscription on top of paying another fee for watching the films here. Then why just wait for the movie theaters to release it and watch it there, right? And I really don't like where movie studios, like whether Warner Brothers or even in this case Disney, is trying to capture streaming services, which is they're lagging behind in terms of subscription base and in terms of, not say user access, but it only divides your user base in terms you have to pay exclusive amount to a certain streaming service so that you can watch only a few films. It was even better when they what do you call this? When they not necessarily sold. What's the term? Forgot the term. Anyway, so when they sort of rented, they license, that's the right term. When they license the TV series or even movies to Netflix, so they still break in the millions and billions of dollars. But obviously, Netflix is the go-to, so that you just click Netflix, you can watch all of the films in one go. And obviously, greedy as they are, you have Warner Brothers going to HBO Max, then you have Disney going to Disney Plus, and then Paramount going to Paramount Plus. So it's all fragmented and segmented, so that it's like watching cable TV. You have to watch so many channels just to watch a particular film, and it gets confusing anyway. And obviously they're touting the later release this year of Cruella, that's one, and you also have Marvel Studios' Black Widow, and they're also pushing for Marvel series. You have the WandaVision, and I think what was the other one? Not the Mandalorian, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. So will be excited to subscribe. If I were the case, I would just simply subscribe to 1 month, maybe binge watch the entire series in one go. Then do I really need to subscribe the whole year and so forth? I will have to wait and see here. And actually here we have, we can see how Netflix revenue and usage here. And we can compare. There you go. You can see the subscriber here. So would be interesting to compare. So you can see here. So Netflix users, in terms of service, you can see here you have Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and so forth. So you can see the subscribers. Netflix is still by far the biggest of a little over 200 million subscribers, right? Even though Amazon Prime has the second highest, not far behind, almost 150. But again, if you're Amazon Prime subscribe, meaning you're an Amazon subscriber, meaning you buy products in their platform, right? So that's why it's easy for you to purchase, or they give you discounts to be a Prime subscriber here. But anyway, look at Disney's. Now, obviously, this is not yet updated since December 20th. It's closing to 100 million, which is still below Netflix, right? But if you look at the other major companies, you have Warner Brothers for HBO Max only has 38 million, less than 50 million. Then you have Peacock, which is owned by Warner Brothers. Not Warner Brothers. What do you call this? Universal. There you go. Less than 50. Then you have CBS or Paramount, only has less than 20. And even worse is Apple, right? Try to go into streaming services, but you only have less than 10 to 30 million subscribers. And again, it's too fragmented, and at the end of the day, the key to any success for any streaming services, which what Netflix has done tremendously, is investing in a lot of content. Obviously, a catalog of older films, TV series is important, but obviously what new content you release is also more as important. Like one of the advantage of the Disney Plus subscribers is The Mandalorian, but outside The Mandalorian, what are you going to watch? Obviously, if you go to Netflix, there are several series that you can watch, and they're producing. But I don't like. I like The Witcher. I watched The Witcher. Actually, The Stranger Things, that's very popular in Netflix. I haven't watched it, but I plan to watch it in the future. And then I watch reruns of The Criminal Minds, which is owned by CBS, by the way, but still, licensed to Netflix. But either way, again, as you can see here, that the data shows that Netflix has already made their mark in terms of investing in a lot of content, and they're the pioneers in terms of streaming services here. Now, can other companies catch up? Maybe, but question is, it'll take a long time, and increasing the price is not going to endear yourself with your consumer base here. And it's easy enough for any consumer to just stop the subscription and go to a different one, rather than pay all subscriptions to all of those services here. Anyway, continuing, we have Microsoft. Well, yes, we were mentioning earlier. Now, Microsoft have been busy this past few months, or since last year, that they've been acquiring companies left and right here. Now, obviously, there were big news. They were trying to acquire TikTok last year, with President Trump's trying to shut down TikTok in the United States. But obviously, at the end, they were not able to buy it. Then they acquired Bethesda, a gaming publisher, ZeniMax actually, and then now they have acquired Discord, the community platform here. So what I've been doing here, obviously, Microsoft has been successful for many years or decades in terms of their software platform, right? Windows, and obviously their cloud services in a sense. But obviously, in terms of consumer platform, social media platform, they're not on par with the likes of, let's say, you had Amazon acquiring Twitch, you have Google acquiring YouTube, and so forth. So in this case, this is one way of Microsoft delving into consumer-based social media platform here. So they were able to acquire or purchase Discord in the sum of $10 billion here. Now, for those who are not familiar, Discord is a VoIP or voice over internet platform that helps community in terms of constant communication over, as mentioned, over internet here. Uh, Now there were rumors that it was initially rumored that the company is up for sale, for interested parties started to flock and trying to buy it, and obviously Microsoft was able to come up with the right amount of money to buy the company. Anyway, obviously Discord has been known for mostly being used for gaming, for the gaming community, right? Where is it? There you go. So they're being used primarily for game voice chat. So which makes sense if you're Xbox, since you have the Microsoft Xbox, the gaming platform, and obviously Xbox has not been doing so well in terms of community chats or discussions here. So with Discord in their belt, it makes sense for them to acquire the company. Now, obviously, along with its servers that act as group chats or communities here. Now, there were initial speculations that the Discord was only testing the waters when they were planning to go public for profit or to increase their profit here. Well, that was not the case here. Now, obviously, Microsoft was able to swoop in and a deal was made so that they were able to acquire the company here. Now, Discord is a platform preferred by most gamers. Now, if you notice, it's less controversial as compared, let's say, Twitch or even in YouTube here. Now, obviously, Microsoft acquisition is a significant upgrade over Microsoft's Xbox, voice chat platform. And obviously, Discord could empower Microsoft and go side by side with it, complementing voice chat and online server forums for Microsoft Xbox. I think Xbox has done a tremendous job of slowly but surely trying to look at different ways on how to provide better value for their gaming consumer in terms of not just providing Xbox Game Pass, so a plethora of games. Once you subscribe to it, you can access all of it, play all of it at the same time, whether it's new or old, and acquiring more publishers always is a plus here. Now, obviously, providing a better gaming experience, in this case, having Discord as an option to communicate with your fellow gamers is another plus here. And obviously, Discord is less, I would say, controversial in terms of how people voice their opinions here. Obviously, primarily for games, but it can expand to other realms as well. So other types of businesses, types of form of communication, and venue would be interesting here. But one main question, one would be wondering now, why would Microsoft is willing to spend this much on Discord, the particular services? Now, obviously, having a huge community, but they're not making any profit here, right? But still, having 140 million active users, does count a lot, and it will continue to grow here over time. Especially, if Microsoft does not come in and try to, control how Discord was able to maintain its success here. Obviously, the creator community is the key here. So creation. So the next 10 years is going to be much more about creation. It's about consumption and about the community around it. And so it's not creating alone. That's why it's successful, according to the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. Okay, so the focus would be on the creators and communities, right? And I think they're on track here. Actually, one of their key acquisitions before was Mojang, the studio behind Minecraft and the millions of devoted fans, which is, doing well right now, fair to say. Now, on the other hand, other acquisitions like LinkedIn costing 26 billion, also GitHub 7.5 billion, and the key here is to target developer love and huge community, and again, letting do their own thing under the umbrella of Microsoft obviously is a key here. And it's a creator-led community on the consumer side here, which is, it's going to do tremendous for the growth of the Xbox community in the long run here. And what's interesting here, of the 6.7 million active users, servers every single day, 75% are in the North American region. So I think Microsoft is doing a lot to make it right for the community here. And obviously, Discord when Microsoft acquires Discord, obviously they're not immune to the typical headaches, as I mentioned, of a social media platform, like in the case of Discord here. So it has to combat toxic users, bots, groups that are used to service for hacking, organized hate, and other nefarious activities. So obviously, Discord does benefit from the fact that it does not try to amplify content to keep users engaged, like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube here. So obviously, Microsoft has solid experience dealing with moderation with its Microsoft Xbox Live Network, and the company has been on a mission to combat toxicity in gaming here. So which is, they're doing on the right path. Hopefully, they can continue what they've started here. So the point here is where people can come together to talk about games, watch other play games, which is, that would be nice in an ideal setting. Obviously, the key here is to tighten the integration between the Xbox, PC, and Discord. So meaning, creating their own ecosystem similar to how Apple is doing in their own, right? So obviously, Xbox makes it more appealing to PlayStation. Now, would it be enough for you to jump ship? Or maybe for consumers to buy both platforms so that you can benefit exclusive titles in PlayStation as well as in Xbox Game Pass here as well. Anyway, next we have here is, what happened last week was kind of funny, interesting, and I wouldn't say funny anyway. I retract that. Talking of how can a big ship, 220-ton ship, be stuck in a canal? But that's what happened last week in the Suez Canal in the Mediterranean region. Now, for those who are not familiar, obviously, the Panama Canal is the one more popular one, but the Suez Canal is in the Mediterranean region, which connects the Mediterranean to the Red Sea here. So it's a big, I won't say a big channel, but it's a big important path wherein, ships traveling from Northern American regions or in Europe going to the Africa region all the way to the Asian region here, they have to pass through the Suez Canal, and the massive container ship was stuck or wedged in the canal and cut off traffic, which is a vital waterway for many companies here, which have been stuck for almost a week, which has recently been refloated. Thank goodness. Now the company in mention here, which is the Ever Given, is one of the largest container ships in the world, which contains, as I mentioned, 220,000 tons of vessel, is able to carry 20,000 containers. So you can just imagine it's not easy to push or drag away, what do you call this? Drag away the big ship here. Anyway, where was it? Yeah. Yep, there you go. As I mentioned, so it stretched more than 1,300 feet. It's almost as long as the Empire State Building. Now, the ship, which ran aground last Tuesday, created further disruption in the global supply chain. Obviously, with the pandemic that's going on, supply chain is in a razor thin. And what's interesting here, the Suez Canal provides 12% of the global trade passes through the canal. So it estimates that more than 9 billion of worth of goods pass through the canal, the 120-mile waterway each day. So translating around 400 million per hour. Anyway, according to the Bernhard Schultz Ship Management, the technical manager of the ship, said that the Ever Given ran aground due to heavy winds. So is it the fault of the ship, or is it the fault of the one in charge of managing the ship, or is it the fault of the canal? Anyway, the Suez Canal Authority Chairman Osama Rabi said that the human or technical error maybe have played a role here. Now, obviously, how can you not, be concentrating in a very narrow path, and that could cause delays not just for the other ships, but for your intended goal here of passing through and going to the port that you're supposed to arrive in. Anyway, so expert salvage crews were called in to help the refloating of the ship, as mentioned. They used 10 tugboats as well as specialized dredging equipment, wherein more than 20,000 of sands and mud were removed during the dredging operation. And high tide also contributed to Monday's successful refloating. So you have nature to thank for the expedite processing here. Anyway, the ships floating traffic can resume now. So nearly 19,000 ships passed through the canal during 2020. So an average of 50 or 51 to 52 ships per day. Now, more than 350 vessels are currently waiting that were stuck in the canal for the past few days here. Anyway, the Suez Canal expects that, what was it? The Suez Canal expects the 113 vessels to cross the waterway from both sides, and the Suez Canal Authority expects that the backlog to be cleared in just 3.5 days. So I think they'll be fast tracking the process here. So at least hopefully it's a learning experience for them, that that they avoid for this to ever. Let's take a look where the Suez Canal here. Let's see here. What was it? There you go. So here is the Mediterranean area, or Mediterranean Sea. Here's the Red Sea, which connects to the rest of the African nations all the way to the Asian region. Anyway, so the Suez Canal is the small portion that connects Cairo and Israel here. So if you were to take a closer look, this horizontal line is the Suez Canal. So it's a very narrow corridor that connects the Mediterranean all the way to the Red Sea here. So you can just imagine the bottleneck it caused if, with what happened here last week. So hopefully it's a learning experience. I think it's the first time I'm hearing that a ship got stuck in the Suez Canal, or in any canal at that matter. Well, hopefully they need to widen the canal in the future so that they can avoid any more problem, if that's even possible, or if that's going to take a lot of more time and money to do that. Anyway, speaking of gaming, so we were talking about Razer earlier. So the company is known for gaming peripherals, from their keyboard, mouse, headphones, all of that. Now with the pandemic, they've introduced a new product, which is a N95 face mask, which is totally different to what we're accustomed, with the breathing gear and so forth. So obviously they put a twist in their face mask here. So let's see here. Oops, what the heck is it? There you go. I thought lost it. Anyway, so Razer is betting on a future in personal safety gear, as mentioned. So they've called it the Project Hazel N95 facial respirator. So according to the CEO, Min Liang Tan, they were thinking, is there a concept that this is a concept project and this is going to be relevant when vaccinations and everything has been rolled out? And also stating that thinking forward, we decided, and I can tell you now, we're going to proceed in making it in reality and ship the smart mask. Now, obviously, moving forward, whether everyone's vaccinated in the near future, obviously people will still be cautious in terms of wearing protective gear, as mentioned, at the very least wearing a face mask. Now, obviously this would be a culture shift, similarly how the Japanese citizens, in terms of being, what do you call this, being polite in terms of covering their face if they're not feeling well. Will this be the new norm for other countries? We have to wait and see. But again, Razer is betting that, companies, or they're betting that the new normal would still require people to wear masks in everyday usage here. So they've realized that even with vaccinations, we are hearing you still have to be masked up, because there is still the risk factor that even if you're vaccinated, you still you want to be incredibly careful here, which, and as mentioned, there are many countries who are still a year or two off from being fully naming our country to be one, and there were plans that the vaccinations will arrive sometime later this year, and until when everyone gets vaccinated, who knows, next year or a year or two, as mentioned. Now, the key feature that's interesting here for the protective mask here is the transparent feature internal LED. So you can see the lower portion here. So it will be transparent, so you can see the mouth of any individual who's using it, so you can understand or see, or read lips in terms of how that person is speaking. Now, it uses replaceable filters and rechargeable ventilators on its 2 respiration pods, so you can adjust the amount of airflow here. Now, the pads have audio processing algorithms built in to make your voice sound clearer and not more natural. Now, would it sound like a Darth Vader? I am your father, something like that. Obviously, it would be muffled in a sense. Obviously, if you're wearing a mouthpiece in front of the if you're in front of your mouth. So, question is, how effective would this be? So, let's see if they have another photo here. Nope, they don't have another photo here. So it would be interesting to see if it would sell well in the marketplace here. So question is, would you be interested to buy their products here? Now, even if they looks cool, obviously this is geared more for gaming, aficionados. Now, the mask also features active ventilation and auto sterilization. So you just have to charge it wirelessly, and it has a UV sterilizer. So it would be safe, so you can reuse it over and over again here. Now, would I buy it? Not really. I'm assuming it's going to be expensive with all the features that they mentioned here. But anyway, to conclude, so for a final story here, so for all the benefits of technology, there's always a downside to using technology. It can be hacked. There could always be scam left and right here. And one of the cases here is an iPhone user lost $600,000 after downloading a Bitcoin app in Apple Store here. Now, whose fault is this? Who would be culpable? And what's the learning experience here? So, obviously, with the rise of Bitcoin here, people are inclined to invest in Bitcoin. Now, obviously, Bitcoin is, I won't say in a bubble, but it's an all-time high right now, right? I think how much is it right now? Let's take a look here. Bitcoin. Yeah, so we can see here. So the price of Bitcoin right now is $60,000 per Bitcoin here, and it's trending up. So let's see a 1-year trend. So it's still trending upward. So it's kind of scary. It used to be somewhere in around $6,000 to $7,000 per Bitcoin, and it has risen significantly to almost $60,000 of Bitcoin. So it looks good, right? But if you're investing on it, which is you're allowed to. So one of the investors here, Philip Christodoulou, wanted to check his Bitcoin balance, and to his surprise, the app that he used was a fake one. So it was able to pilfer 17.1 Bitcoin, which is amounting to almost 600,000 at the time. Now, the interesting here is he is blaming Apple for the scenario here. Now, question here is Apple culpable here, or is it the fault of the user here? Now, obviously, Apple has been in hot waters with their fight with what do you call this? With Epic, right? With paying, with a fee, or saying that it's an exorbitant fee of 30% and everything. And they're stating that, they're trying to protect the interests of the users here. Well, here we have a scenario. You're supposed to protect the interests of the user, and yet many of the companies that are able to register are able to get away with murder, in a sense that they are able to scam several people. And it's not just Philippe was able to be scammed here, other people. And obviously, as a user, you felt betrayed, because he also stated that he downloaded the app because it had a 5-star rating, meaning it provided legitimacy in terms of trusting the app, whether should you download it or use it for that purposes here. Now, obviously, Apple reviewed several apps here before being approved. The fact that it was approved, meaning, is Apple culpable here? Now, obviously, there's a user agreement here that everyone has to agree. Now, would this absolve any responsibility from Apple? Obviously, Apple would say that they're absolved, but obviously it's up to the government to see to it that is it just that they take a cut and then they say that they're going to protect the interest, but at the end it's difficult to ensure safety, that there's still companies that are able to get away with with nefarious schemes like this one, right? And be able to get away. Now, obviously, cryptography is already a very big issue right now, whether it's legitimate or not. But the fact people are using it as a means to invest, save money, and so forth, and actually, according to CoinFirm here, there were other people who have lost a total amount of 1.6 million using the iOS map app here. So, question here is, what is the responsibility of the company here in this case? Should they be sued? And another case is, what's the responsibility of Apple here? And obviously, the user has to be responsible enough to discern that you don't just go to an app store and say that you download an app and it's reliable, and all of your money is stored there and will be safe here. So I think there has to be a check and balance system. Obviously, the government has to catch up in order to be able to ensure the safety, but the government is in a battle for the antitrust issue with those big tech companies we just mentioned, of their monopolistic nature. And obviously, this is a totally different issue altogether. But at the end of the day, obviously, it's unfair for any individual to lose their money. But the problem is, you have to also be aware that scams like this are everywhere here, left and right. It's not just using technology, using traditional means that you receive text, they would ask you to send their money or your personal information in impersonating financial institutions. And if you're not careful and you gave your personal information to the wrong person, they could take advantage, and they could cash out your money or your account in the end. And what's interesting here, the scam application was downloaded more than 100 times. So you could just imagine how many people were scammed out already. So the question is, what can the company do? And I think they should be held responsible, because as a company, it's you're in this platform of saying you want to protect the interest of the user, then go protect the interest. So how come they were able to escape the loophole in a sense? And what should be the repercussion so that they would not this will not ever happen again? So repercussion for the individual, also repercussion for the company, in this case Apple, as well for future companies who wants to create scam applications to trick users in the future here. And as mentioned here, another iPhone user who lost $14,000 worth of Ethereum and Bitcoin. So question is, it claims an Apple representative told him that the company was not responsible for losses stemming from the fake. Obviously, the company would protect its interest, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility, right? You're trying to say you're environmentally friendly, but yet again, you're trying to sell different products or sell separately your products just to earn, I won't say a quick buck, but a substantial amount, right? And say you're environmentally friendly, and you say you want to protect the interest of the individual or your user, then show it to everyone, so that not everyone can take advantage of the app here. That's why you have the millions and billions of resources at your hand to use, right? Well, obviously this will not be settled anytime soon. Hopefully people are becoming more aware of becoming more cautious of what's happening in our society nowadays here, right? Especially with technology. Better technology comes with benefits and disadvantages, and we have to be aware in either way here. Anyway, that concludes our discussion for today. So if you have any questions regarding the topics today, you can always look in the description for the full article here. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week, same time, same channel. Take care.